In sunny Spain, during a breezy April day, Sol, sporting her edgy rock chick appearance, carefully picks out her attire. She jots down a series of post-it notes, creating lists outlining the activities she plans to enjoy with someone special she's about to meet. In a rush, she heads out to rendezvous with Danny, a long-haired gentleman who seems to have walked straight out of a Mexican soap opera. Sol and Danny engage in an introductory conversation. Danny is slightly surprised by Sol's directness. He subtly alludes to their prior communication, making Sol wonder if he is up to her expectations. Sol compliments Danny's exceptional writing skills, and their discussion shifts to the content of their exchanged letters. Danny admits that he is drawn to Sol's candid writing style, leading them to decide to share their respective letters with each other. In an effort to get to know each other better, Sol suggests a leisurely walk. During this casual stroll, they engage in typical casual small talk about their living situations and personal preferences. They both come to an agreement that there's no need to rush things, and that they can take their time. Meanwhile, a narrator breaking a fourth wall provides additional insights into Sol's character. She mentions Sol's fondness for pastries and sweet treats, offering a glimpse into Sol's personality. Marta continues to observe Danny and Sol's interaction from an outsider's perspective. Sol reassures Danny that she prefers a gradual approach, and that there's no one else in her life. They bid farewell, and Sol eagerly ascends to her apartment to peruse the letter Danny presented her. Later, in another scene, a lively party ensues, complete with indulgence in substances. Sol joins friends, lovers, and strangers at the gathering. But this is a thing in the past. In her room afterward, her friend Gloria joins her, and Sol enthusiastically shares her impressions of Danny, including his good looks, air of mystery, and evident talents. Gloria, Sol's friend, expresses some concerns, hoping to ensure that Danny doesn't pose any danger, or turn out to be a potential serial murderer. Sol seizes this opportunity to get to know Danny more intimately once again. Later on, Danny returns home alone, going about his usual routine. As he reclines, he inexplicably berates himself, muttering the word, bastard, without any apparent cause. We then gain a glimpse into Danny's daily life. He kindly assists a flustered woman, Lydia, in toasting her bread, sensing her nervousness about an upcoming date. Lydia queries Danny about the date, prompting him to describe Sol's physical appearance and age. Lydia's surprise arises from a detail in Sol's advertisement, where she claims to be rebuilding her life, implying a checkered past. Despite the surprise, Danny contemplates going on a second date with Sol, captivated by her beauty. Lydia, however, voices concerns that Danny might unwittingly draw people into his enigmatic world, one shrouded in mystery. Danny reassures her, emphasizing that they can part ways casually if things don't work out. Lydia wants to make sure of Danny's well-being, and that he will not be in trouble or worse. As Danny arrives at work, a woman named Marta catches his eye, displaying evident interest. She smiles warmly and urges Danny to check his phone. Later, Sol is at home, engrossed in various activities. Suddenly, Danny calls her, engaging in a conversation about their respective activities and making plans for the future. They eagerly decide on their next date, scheduled for the upcoming Saturday. In the midst of their excitement, Danny reveals his profession as a web designer. Overjoyed and filled with giddiness, Sol expresses her affection by planting a kiss on Danny through the phone, and they conclude the call. Sol can hardly contain her elation at the prospect of their second date. At their planned meeting, Sol eventually arrives, jogging up to Danny and offering apologies for her tardiness. They begin their walk, during which Sol opens up and shares her life story. She confides that she has left her home and now resides with Gloria, a friend who kindly took her in during a difficult period. Danny inquires about Sol's past, wanting to understand what led her to this point. Sol candidly shares her story, revealing that she fell in love with a musician named Dario. Despite warnings from others about the risky nature of dating musicians, especially as they often use their fans for their own pleasure, Sol disregarded the advice and followed her heart. However, she now recognizes that it was a grave error. Sol recounts a specific incident where she and Dario were intimate without using protection. Trusting Dario, she opted for a pill afterward. Sadly, Dario left her during his tour, ending their relationship over the phone. To make matters worse, Sol later discovered that Dario is not only HIV positive, but has advanced, and she has contracted the virus from him. Yet there is a glimmer of hope in their situation, as they learned about their infections relatively early. She is seropositive, which means she only has the virus, but has not yet advanced to AIDS. After sharing her story, Sol encourages Danny to open up about his own experiences. Danny admits to a similar mistake, but seems uncomfortable discussing it in detail. While his story is simpler, involving unprotected intimacy with another woman, Danny is more intrigued by Sol's strength in coping with their shared situation. Sol, however, modestly rejects the notion of her strength, describing the emotional rollercoaster she has been through, including moments of breakdown and hopelessness. Despite the weight of their circumstances, Sol continues to be bright like a sunshine Barbie as they stroll through the streets. She playfully pulls Danny away to visit an open house, pretending to be potential tenants and a couple. The real estate agent leaves them alone, granting them a moment of privacy. Saul, feeling a bit anxious about moving too fast, tentatively asks Danny if there's a chance they could live together. Danny reassures her, expressing that he doesn't mind the pace. The apartment they explore is stunning, overlooking a building filled with charming restaurants. They decide to order food from one of these restaurants and enjoy a meal together in the empty apartment. While dining, Saul and Danny engage in a heartfelt conversation about romance and love in the wake of their shared HIV-positive status. Saul confesses that she has closed herself off to the idea of finding love, fearing that her condition might scare potential partners away. She placed the ad out of a desire to be honest. Danny, on the other hand, admits he has no specific plans. He is candid about his growing feelings for Saul, evident in the way he looks at her and his occasional blushing. He believes anyone would fall in love with someone as exceptional as Saul. Saul playfully pulls Danny into an impromptu dance, even without music. They twirl and sway, lost in their own world, and eventually decide to take their dance outside. A woman, observing from a distance, can't help but smile at the sight. As they plan to meet again the following day, their connection deepens with a passionate kiss before they part ways. Saul heads inside her home, and Danny watches her with pure joy in his eyes. The next morning, Saul wakes up to find Gloria in an unusually sour mood, in stark contrast to Saul's bubbly demeanor. They chat about their recent experiences, and Gloria admits to having a spat with her boyfriend. Saul, positively beaming about her new romance, shares her elation. However, Gloria plays devil's advocate, suggesting that things might be moving too fast, drawing from her own experiences. She questions Danny's intentions, leaving Saul to ponder her friend's words as Gloria walks away. Later, Danny gently awakens Lydia, who's sleeping beside Sandro. In a candid conversation with Lydia, Danny opens up about his growing feelings for Saul, even though they've only met a couple of times. Lydia, however, senses that Danny is keeping something important from Saul, and advises against pursuing a romantic relationship. She believes that Danny's undisclosed secret could potentially harm Saul. Lydia strongly encourages Danny to be honest with Saul, especially concerning someone named Mayman, presumably Danny's ex-lover. Sandra wakes up and inquires about the conversation, but Lydia remains evasive about the details. As the day progresses, Danny spots Mayman, whom he wishes to speak with. Tensions rise between them as their conversation escalates into a heated argument. Despite Mayman's initial fondness for Danny's ability to make her laugh, she perceives a change in him, and suspects that there is a new person in his life. Saul and Danny meet up once again, and Saul invites Danny into her room. Saul's living space features walls adorned with an assortment of notes, effectively serving as her unconventional method of documenting daily thoughts and reflections, which is like a personal journal. While in her room, Danny stumbles upon a post where Saul lists things she appreciates about him, including a cheeky reference to Danny's rear end. Saul playfully catches him, but doesn't mind as Danny continues to explore her personal items. During their time together, Danny stumbles upon an intriguing Japanese movie that captures Saul's curiosity as well. She reveals that her previous job involved dubbing for this movie, and since returning to the city, any job has been a luxury for her. Saul also shares her passion for artistic photography and expresses her desire to continue taking photos professionally. They decide to have an Oriental dinner, specifically Japanese cuisine, which Saul takes on the task of preparing. During this Japanese dinner, Danny finds himself struggling with chopsticks, admitting that he doesn't know how to use them. Saul has a thing for Japanese culture, so she takes the opportunity to teach Danny the proper technique. Afterward, they watch a special Japanese movie that Saul previously dubbed into Spanish. Danny finds it a bit peculiar, hearing Saul's voice instead of the original actress's, leading to some playful teasing. They enjoy sake on the bed, engaging in a playful back and forth that results in them getting soaked. This prompts them to remove their tops. As they continue their conversation, Saul asks Danny about his life while living with the virus. She inquires if Danny ever misses the physical aspect of relationships, to which he responds negatively. Saul confesses that she misses the emotional connection more than the physical part. Danny expresses his hesitation about entering a relationship, especially the topic of moving in together. Saul reassures him that they should take things slow, and that her earlier invitation to move in was merely an impulse. They decide to clean up and continue their evening, as this marks as their third date since meeting. Danny and Saul continue their conversation, going deeper into what they both want out of the relationship and their expectations. They both express the importance of taking things slowly and doing things right. Saul confesses that she had set low expectations, but is genuinely happy with Danny, and he seems to agree. As they walk together, Danny attempts to say something about himself, something that has been bothering him. However, Saul interrupts him and suggests they take a 2-day break before seeing each other again. Danny, still visibly troubled, doesn't seem happy with postponing the conversation. At work, he talks to his boss about an article he has promised to write, but now feels unable to complete with the original depth and research. Their disagreement centers on Danny's reluctance to pursue the article, exposing his false claim of being a web designer. On this part, it is revealed that the article's topic is AIDS in Spain, and his boss suspects that Danny is emotionally involved in the subject for this report. Now we know that Danny has lied about being HIV positive, and is using Saul's condition as material for an article by deceiving her. After leaving work, Danny decides to have a drink, and Marta, a co-worker who appears to have a crush on him, follows him, requesting a drink as well. They settle in at a bar, engaging in a conversation that, surprisingly, they've never had, despite working together for a long time. Marta shares some gossip circulating about Danny. Their discussion shifts to casual topics, ranging from aliens to Rolling Stone. They dive into debunking myths and legends surrounding bands and music. It becomes evident that Danny has piqued Marta's interest, and she inquires about the type of girl he prefers. Later, on the rooftop, Gloria and Saul engage in a playful moment that quickly turns into a discussion about Saul's judgment. Saul believes she's already in love with Danny, having had 3 dates without any physical intimacy. However, Gloria finds this hard to believe and questions Saul's perspective. She may not fully grasp Saul's feelings, but she's willing to lend an ear. Saul explains that she has opened up to Danny and truly believes he likes her, because he hasn't pushed her away after learning about her condition. This gives her hope for love and life. But Saul also acknowledges that Danny appears to be avoiding reality, leaving her perplexed about the situation. Gloria suggests that maybe Danny is desperate, and that finding love so quickly seems improbable. Later, when someone calls, Saul hesitates to answer, indicating that she's not quite ready. Gloria urges her to take action, but Saul hints at saying goodbye, leaving us uncertain about her true intentions. In the morning, Saul visits her old apartment where she used to live with her ex-partner, Dario, who unknowingly transmitted the disease to her. They appear blissfully happy in old photographs. Saul rings the doorbell, and the door opens. She offers her apologies and inquires about Dario's well-being, expressing sympathy for his deteriorating condition. Dario, now in the advanced stages of the disease, talks to Saul and realizes that he has never apologized to her. He asks if Saul hates him, to which she responds that she did, but not as much as she loved and trusted him. Dario is deeply remorseful, and Saul offers words of encouragement to uplift his spirits. She thanks Dario for his apology, much to his disbelief, and expresses her desire to live life to the fullest. Dario makes a heartfelt request for Saul to smile for the last time, and she complies, kissing his hand before bidding him farewell. They share an amicable final kiss before Saul rises and departs, leaving the expiring man behind. Before leaving, Saul inserts a CD into the stereo and plays some music. As the rain pours outside, and with no umbrella in hand, Saul boards the bus while reminiscing about Dario's final days. Lost in her thoughts, she retrieves her journal and starts jotting down the names of boys she likes. Her mind, however, keeps drifting to Danny. Unable to contain her emotions, Saul rushes out into the pouring rain and dials Danny's number, only to find it busy. She leaves a heartfelt voice message, confessing her love for him. Upon returning home, she finds Gloria waiting there, her expression unusually serious. Gloria prompts Saul to sit down, her demeanor making Saul uneasy. Gloria begins probing about Danny, his job, and their relationship. Saul shares what she knows, and that's when Gloria drops the devastating truth about Danny. She reveals a magazine with Danny's name as a journalist, and his signature is unmistakably there. Gloria discloses that Danny is working on a report about the current state of AIDS in Spain. In disbelief, Saul reads the contents and is overwhelmed with emotion, tears streaming down her face. Meanwhile, Danny is also overwhelmed with sadness. He decides to visit Saul's apartment, carrying a letter, but hesitating to deliver it. Ultimately, he opts to knock on her door. Saul answers, her face filled with burning questions about his true identity. She wastes no time and directly asks if he is the journalist Daniel Torres, who writes for the paper. Danny hesitates, but under Saul's persistent inquiries, he finally admits to being said journalist. Saul continues probing, questioning if Danny is HIV positive. Danny confesses that he is not infected. Gloria intervenes, forcefully pulling Saul away from Danny. Later, Lydia is with Danny, who remains deeply sorrowful and burdened by guilt. He still hopes to mend things with Saul, but Lydia suggests that Danny take a break, perhaps a holiday far away, and stop pushing Saul, as his persistence is only causing her more distress. She advises Danny to let time heal the wounds, and turn this chapter into another page of his life. Later, Saul grapples with maintaining her sanity, replaying the conversations she had with Danny in her mind. Despite everything, Saul still holds on to her love for Danny. In 2 juxtaposed frames, their contrasting routines are depicted. Each day, from the moment they wake up, they embark on their daily activities, which often involve sharing breakfast or meals together. Amidst these moments, Saul's thoughts oscillate between the time she has spent with Danny and her memories of Dario. Time has indeed flown by, as September has arrived. Danny is spending time with Marta, and they talk about Mayman. Their relationship appears to have deepened over time, with Marta even impressing Danny by speaking Italian and visiting his home. Back at Danny's apartment, things become more intimate between him and Marta. On the other side, Sol appears somewhat distressed as she walks down a hospital hallway. She consults with her doctor, who delivers some relatively positive news about her improving health, despite her weight loss. Sol reveals that Dario has passed away, contributing to her stress. The doctor advises her not to dwell on negative thoughts, emphasizing the importance of self-care and a long life. He even suggests that Sol should consider dating again, though she's initially resistant, due to her past experience with Danny. Their conversation takes an unexpected turn when the doctor candidly expresses his interest in dating Sol, revealing that he's now a widower. He reflects on the difficulties of being a doctor, unable to save his loved one, and resolves to live life to the fullest for his late wife, encouraging Sol to do the same. Overwhelmed by the doctor's words, Sol hugs him. While taking a bath, Sol indulges in a vivid imagination where Danny joins her in the bathtub, and they share an intimate moment. However, the scene quickly shifts back to reality, portraying a lonely and depressed Sol. Meanwhile, Danny and Lydia have a conversation where she inquires about Danny's relationship with Marta. Danny doesn't seem happy and confesses that he actually misses Sol. Lydia, on the other hand, expresses reservations about Danny dating Sol, emphasizing the potential limitations and negative aspects. Danny remains resolute, emphasizing his strong desire to be with Sol, regardless of any obstacles. Lydia extends an invitation for both Danny and Sol to join her for dinner before she departs. Later, Lydia returns home to Sandro and shares her concern about Danny's emotional state, indicating that he's struggling to move on from Sol. She then engages in a discussion with Sandro about the state of their own relationship. Gloria approaches Sol with the intention of celebrating, assuming Sol is doing well. However, Sol's mood isn't inclined towards celebration, and she expresses missing Danny. Gloria, not holding back her opinion, labels Danny as a jerk. Sol, however, feels that she hasn't given Danny the opportunity to explain himself properly. Gloria is disappointed, as she believed Sol had moved on from him. In an attempt to help, Gloria retrieves a letter that Danny dropped in her mailbox during a visit. Sol initially feels anger but forgives Gloria. She doesn't immediately open the letter, choosing to read it later. Upon reading the letter, Sol discovers Danny's true identity and the nature of his report on AIDS. Danny confesses that, as a journalist, his work meant everything to him, until he met Sol. He expresses that he has fallen deeply in love with her. Danny's letter is filled with poetic sentiments, which initially captivated Sol when they first connected. Sol's spirits are lifted, and she feels giddy and happy once again after reading the heartfelt letter. Meanwhile, Danny engages in a serious conversation with Marta, and it becomes apparent that they are in the process of breaking up. Danny makes it clear that Marta is not the issue, but rather, there's another woman who is coming between them. Marta assumes that this other woman must be exceptionally skilled in bed, which is why Danny is drawn to her. However, Danny reveals that he hasn't even been physically intimate with this woman, referring to Sol. Marta is taken aback by this revelation. Danny openly confesses that he is in love with Sol. Despite this emotional revelation, Danny and Marta part ways amicably, with Marta understanding Danny's feelings. Lydia gives Danny a call and invites him to dinner, suggesting that he bring a date along. Danny responds by saying he currently doesn't have a date. However, Lydia then becomes more serious, holding back tears as she shares the news that she is pregnant. She quickly reassures Danny that everything will be all right, but admits to feeling scared. Despite her own concerns, Lydia encourages Danny to reach out to Sol, regardless of any earlier reservations he may have had. In another sunny part of town, Sol goes to visit Danny, but he's not answering the door. At the same time, Danny is at Sol's home, ringing her, but not getting a response either. Unbeknownst to them, Gloria is watching the situation unfold. In two separate frames, they both wait for each other on benches near their respective homes. Sol, feeling defeated, eventually decides to return home. However, she encounters a woman she met earlier, who tells her that she has been waiting for hours, and can sense the love between Sol and Danny. Encouraged by this, Sol rushes back out and spots Danny walking away. Danny finally musters the courage to confess his love, and they end up sharing a passionate and endless kiss, finally finding peace in each other's arms.